All right, man, I'm gonna run this little video, man. It's basically speaking on sexuality and the importance behind it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us come up in backgrounds where we are um, basically kept at a low vibration as far as um, our sexual awareness. So we don't understand that how powerful that life force is. Um, you know, obviously, it's pretty powerful if you can bring a whole human being here, through your sexual energy. So just imagine if you take that energy to create a life and you create projects, you create friendships, you create, you know what I'm saying? You just create other things other than more sexual desires because that's your life force that ages you. A lot of these different countries, they adopt the whole mindset of not having an orgasm. They have sex, but they just don't have an orgasm. And it makes sense because it don't make you a slave to that other person or to that orgasm. And then on top of that, these people are respecting their sexual energy. You respect your sexual energy, it will respect you. That's why people getting diseases and shit, not respecting their sexual energy. These people like, hold on. These different countries like, hey, God created, we can create a life with this. You know what? I'm going to use this to create something else. So take control of your sexual energy, your power. Is outstanding when you can actually put this into your projects, your work. Like I know, I've done it. You know what I'm saying? Like just as far as harnessing my energy, like not being as sexual, staying away from all of those activities. A lot of people can't even look at people, without having a sexual thought in their mind. That's sad. A lot of how the world is being operated is based off how people's looks and how your sexual energy is being manipulated. So so just imagine a person that ain't having an orgasm. You know, they're more attentive to that person. Is not me being connected to this flesh. That's a lustful type of way. That's destruction. Lust is destruction. All you see is lust on TV. And these elites are taking in consideration the planetary energies. All the different numbers are representing planetary energies. That's why they keep putting up threes. That's why they keep putting up six. They're trying to bound you to this 3D world. Those planetary energies deal with Earth, deal with the 3D, deal with sexual pleasures, deal with mundane matters and love. No spirituality in it. So that's why they emphasize that planetary energy of the six, which damn near sound like sex. And it's no coincidence. So, I'm aware of how things operate. You know what I'm saying? When men get around women, I see how men act all the time. And women, some women, you know what I'm saying? But men be, oh my God, jaws dropping. If an attractive female walk by, they breaking their neck. They can't even focus. They forgot what they were about to say. Motherfuckers getting in accidents. All behind the booty, the face, whatever. But as far as me now, the difference I see, like, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people can't figure me out now. Like, a lot of females can't really figure me out because I'm not all on them like everybody else. I don't see them like that. I see them as another person. I'm not looking at them like, oh, damn, when can I have sex with her? Like, I respect myself. I know I'm not no goddamn sex toy, so I'm not looking at nobody else like that. And I understand what our sexual energy is about. So even if they don't respect it, I respect it. You feel me? But females be drawn to that I don't give them the attention that everybody else. So they got 9 dudes in the room staring at them, trying to get their number, all of this, and I'm just chilling in my own being. I'm chilling. I'm just being, not disturbed, not bothered. And they kind of be like, what's up with him? Why can't I get him like these other guys? That's because I got control of my sexual force. And you're not going to get me in control. And a lot with these women, they see a dude with muscles. Oh, God. Oh, Lord. They falling out. You know what I'm saying? They got to change their underwear. All different types of things go on. You know what I'm saying? It ain't saying you ain't going to be attracted, but I'm just saying, if you messing with somebody that you know you're not supposed to be messing with, or you having unprotected sex, these urges are driving you to do these things. You don't have control of it. It's controlling you. Having kids with people that you don't want to have kids with. It's not you're controlling, it's controlling you. So just imagine if we only use this force, the orgasm, to create. Whether it's things in our life or actual, you know what I'm saying? Another human being. So a lot of us grow up in these environments and where we don't have a chance because nobody is educated on sexual awareness. Get into the origin of anything. Anything you want to know about, don't just go back to 1990. Go all the way back. The origin. The origin. That's what I like to deal with, the origin of things. You know what I'm saying? And then a lot of times it'd be a disconnect with people's and their information because they're only going back to 1990, and then you got other people that's going back until ancient times. We have to go back to the essence of these matters to get a grip or understanding how these people operated. What did they see it as? I want to see how the ancient people seen it. They, you know what I'm saying? They was living a prosperous life. I mean, who can say what's prosperous? But they wouldn't having these illnesses and things that we have at the magnitude that we're having it. So in that case, I guess it would be beneficial. So yeah, harness your sexual energy, man. Don't become no sex puppet to nobody, not to no TV, not to no media. Like really take control of your sexual energy. A lot of people look at that as a weapon. And that's why I said I be within myself when I get around women. And they can't, some can't handle that because they need to know that they the shit. They need to know that they beautiful. They need men falling to their feet. But I can compliment a woman and walk off. Hey, you look nice today. Have a good day. And walk off. Damn, he didn't try to get my number. Damn. And they just leave them like, wow. That's somebody that's in control of their sexual energy. Not somebody, hey, what's up? Yo, you got a man? Shit. Well, what that mean? Shoot, y'all might break up sometime. What's up? Like, that's somebody that's just straight sex. They not thinking about if they was in that relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, thanks for joining me. Hope you're doing well. The number 6 refers to earthly matters. It's aligned with materialism, finances, and earthly worries. This is why, from the Christian perspective, God created man and beasts on the 6th day, and men were appointed 6 days to labor. Because of its ties to earthly matters, Christians often call 6 the number of sin. And in Hebrew numerology, 6 was often considered an evil number. That's a stretch though. No number is inherently evil, but overemphasizing the vibrations of 6 results in an imbalance. 6 is the number of man handling and mastering the world, and this is why it visually looks like an eye, a man standing on top of the world. Everything is related in this matrix, as above, so below, and numbers are no exception. On the contrary, 9 is humanitarian, showing the opposite, the I, the man holding up the world, like Atlas. 9 has also been associated with death, and in this vein, ego death, which is what's required if we are to tear down this control system and replace it with a new paradigm based in love. The number 8 represents the infinite, hence why the number is also an infinity sign. The infinity sign symbolizes that which is not restrained by space and time. Love is infinite. Love does not exclude. It is the only infinite vibration and therefore will forever remain, no matter what happens throughout the multiverse. Therefore, 8 represents infinite love. 6 again is the material. When you see recurring 6s given to you on clocks, license plates, and other mediums, it's a reminder to set your intentions upon more spiritual sites instead of worrying about material needs. The more 6s you see, the more you are being guided to go inward and look for spiritual direction. So if 6 represents earthly matters and 8 represents the infinite, then 7 would be right in the middle, signifying that Source created both, and we have free will to use this for harmonious or destructive purposes. 7 is the neutrality of our power. When celebrities and politicians are constantly flashing the 666 hand gesture, this represents their admiration of the principles that the number 6 represents, the mastering of earthly matters, which is currently out of balance. It's been overemphasized, and therefore 666 represents an attempt at cutting the connection to infinite love, as to indulge in solely earthly pursuits, like power and sex. The Greek root hex means 6 and is similar to the Latin cognate sex. The word sex is phonetically similar to the word 6, and this is no accident. In standard numerology, we get the phrase X's and O's from 6, and this is also why triple X's are used in association with sex. XXX means 666. The word sex is derived from the Latin seccare, meaning to cut off. Seccare also means to intersect, meaning to lie across each other. This reveals the dual nature of sex. It can be used to divide or to unify. And like the number 6, sex, when overemphasized and inverted, becomes a force for restriction rather than expansion. Sigmund Freud is considered one of the fathers of psychology. His work is taught in all college-level psychology classes, and his theories are generally considered reasonable. He used sex in almost every one of his explanations for human behavior. Freud believed that much of the mind's discord and tension was due to the buildup of sexual energy, displayed in his psychosexual theory of development. According to his theory, each stage of psychosexual development must be met successfully for proper development. The famous sexologist Alfred Kinsey was influenced by Freud, and throughout his career, he gave support to pornography and pedophilia, some even suggesting he was a pedophile himself. Even the New York Times has questioned if he was a sexual liberator or a sexual pervert. There's 3 elements of creation within sex: procreation, pleasure, and psychogenesis. Most of society at large focuses on procreation and especially pleasure. Much like the masses, thinkers like Freud and Kinsey reduced sexuality to pleasure, even inciting it in their psychological explanations. The third element, psychogenesis, the creation of a spiritual nature through sex, has been actively suppressed and misunderstood. The human sex drive is the strongest energy source of the body. This energy is the inner life force we carry within. Our creativity, discipline, and vitality are all based on this sexual energy. It is the greatest source of our magic. The author M in The Dayspring of Youth sums this up perfectly. The controlling of the sex nature builds up a reservoir of strength, and it is this strength that opens the door to the innermost. An orgasm cannot be simplified as just a pleasurable feeling. An orgasm is a climactic peak of sexual electrical forces in which the nervous system is overcharged with sexual energy, resulting in a short circuit, a damaging release of energy. This comes out in the form of semen for males, and typically does not entail expulsion of fluids for females. Orgasms are primarily energetic, so it's not always accompanied by the expulsion of sexual fluids, but it usually is in men. People who repeat the orgasm gradually lose the ability to have it. They become impotent or become indifferent to sex because their energetic centers become burned out. This is why Viagra and related medications are so common these days, and it's why pornography and sex toys have become so popular. It's all artificial stimulation for sexual energy. This is also why people move towards more and more extreme sexual interests and fetishes, because the areas that stimulated them previously become burned out. It's a vicious cycle that much of humanity has been enveloped in, focusing too much on the vibrations of 6, and not allowing the re-emergence of sacred sexuality, which deals with the earthly 6 and the infinite 8. Sacred sexuality is a return to the true function of the body, one in which this short circuit of orgasm is no longer inflicting harm. Instead, these forces are retained and redirected. vitalizing the entire body and spirit. Many spiritual and religious dogmas promote the idea that sexuality is bad or evil, promoting repression of sexuality. Notably, Catholicism and the Islamic faith hold sexual energy as shameful, evil, and dangerous. We are sexually repressed, but not in the way most psychologists and sex workers would have us believe. While the masses are enticed into and engaged in what they call sexual freedom, it's actually sexual slavery. Sexual repression does not mean the solution is to have sex for pure enjoyment. The true solution is to channel that sexual energy into more creative ways. This, of course, requires self-discipline, but not for the sake of self-instilled misery, but self-discipline for the sake of setting oneself free. Sigmund Freud once said, "I advocate an incomparably freer sexual life. If only Americans knew, we are bringing them the plague." He's revealing to us this belief of sexual freedom or sexual liberation is quite literally the opposite. Most of us are exposed to warped opinions and images regarding sexuality from a young age. As boys and girls enter puberty, their sexual energy awakens within them, but this energy is usually never fully explored because they've already been indoctrinated into a toxic worldview. Unbalanced attitudes towards sex are marketed to us via advertising and so-called entertainment. It's practically inescapable in modern society to not be bombarded with this inverted sexual seduction in some form on a daily basis. When we see all of these sexualized bodies in the media, I'm not saying they should be covered up like many religions promote. The body is a beautiful thing. By covering us up with clothes, specifically the breasts and genital areas, we're subconsciously agreeing that these areas are coveted and naughty objects, rather than natural, whole and complete parts of the human body. Freud's psychosexual theory paints the breasts and genitals as purely relating to sexuality. This is a perversion of the beautiful bodies we have. The genitalia and breasts are instrumental in creation, pleasure, and sustenance of human life, but they're not solely sex objects. Modern clothes are designed to synonymously hide and draw attention to these areas. It subconsciously makes us feel sexually repressed while sexually energized. It's a form of the Hegelian dialectic. And excessively covering up our bodies because they're seen as evil or corruptible lends to the idea that bodies are purely sexual, and because of that, must remain unseen. The body is much more than sexual. Again, the genitalia and breasts are not only pleasure centers, but areas of elimination, rejuvenation, and spirituality. We don't have to cover ourselves up, and we also don't have to draw excessive attention to these areas. I'm not saying don't wear baggy clothes, and I'm not saying don't wear revealing bikinis. I'm just saying we should be able to wear clothes without ideologies involving sex. I've explored in previous videos how we're living in a matrix, more specifically an energy extraction matrix. Sexual energy is one of the main ways this matrix is being upheld. Our own sexual energy is used by the elite to enslave us. They set up a control grid with images of inverted sexuality surrounding us, allowing entities to feed off of that energy. It's a black magic agreement. In turn, these negative entities aid in reinforcing this control, fear-based reality, using our sexual energy against us. Along with fear and suffering, our sexual energy is harnessed like batteries.
The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
The organized sexual abuse of our children by the elite is harnessing the untapped sexual energy from our children. Because children are fragile, this energy combined with the fear and suffering they experience during the act is more powerful than the sexual abuse of adults. And this is why pedophilia is instrumental in powering this energy extraction matrix. Many of you are most familiar with Pizzagate, but there's been whistleblower after whistleblower exposing child exploitation rings for years. It takes an extreme amount of fear-based energy to maintain a dark, fictitious reality within the confines of this hologram, because fear is not infinite like love is. Referring back to the beginning, infinity is 8, and can only be love. The emphasis on earthly matters like sex, which when imbalanced turns into fear and a scarcity-based consciousness, is a 6, and it's half of the power of love. This is why love is the only way to tear down this false matrix we're living in. It yields much more vibrational power than fear ever will. Love does not have to be harnessed for it to wield its power. It already trumps all fear that it comes into contact with. Another reason inverted sexuality is all around us is because the elite need us distracted. People who spend their time in search of sexual stimulation tend to ignore the more spiritual aspects of life. Most importantly, the endless search for sexual stimulation directs us away from the true work that must be done right now, which is being a vessel for truth, so we may change this reality from a control-based system to a heart-based system. Lust is an insatiable force that energetically consumes its practitioner, giving way to a dullness of the spirit, the opposite of what is needed right now on this plane. The illusions of money and power are all related to the abuse of sexual energy. As a man, I can assure you that many men want to become musicians, celebrities, and politicians because of the allure of status, meaning more opportunities to have sex, and not sacred union, but promiscuous, uncontrolled sex. Domination, most often by males, has become a constant in sexual attitudes. The imbalance of the feminine-masculine traits with an overemphasis on masculine left-brain principles in our society extends in our attitudes towards sexuality. Tenderness and passion has been lost in society's perception of sex. The same way the dynamic of care, the overarching principle of the divine feminine, has been lost. Now is the time for the re-emergence of the divine feminine principles. In this new paradigm, sexual attitudes follow and become more complete, more in sync with our divine nature. We now must relearn and teach the sacred aspect of sexuality that has been hidden. The act of sexual union and the controlling of our own sexual energy then becomes a catalyst for love and spiritual growth. When a man loses his vital fluid, his semen, he has what's been called the little death. The little death is the common translation from the phrase la petite mort, a popular French reference for a sexual orgasm. The true translation, however, is the brief loss or weakening of consciousness. Upon ejaculation, men lose vital nutrients and minerals. In semen there's vitamin B6, B12, and E, and the minerals calcium and magnesium. Zinc, selenium, and copper are lost in significant amounts. Frequent masturbation and ejaculation stimulate parasympathetic nervous functions excessively, resulting in the overproduction of sex hormones and neurotransmitters such as acetylcholine, dopamine, and serotonin. Because of this overproduction and overstimulation, these chemicals over time actually become less abundant, just like we see with excessive drug use. But more importantly than vitamins is the energetic power the seminal fluid possesses. When men get rid of this fluid, we experience a loss, dampening our creativity, our vitality, and our discipline. This is why many athletes are instructed in the week before a game not to masturbate. The classic self-help author Napoleon Hill actively taught men to save their fluid and, in turn, make their lives better. The reason men who don't ejaculate frequently have higher rates of prostate cancer than men who do is because the masses don't practice the transmutation of this fluid. This fluid sits there rather than being transmuted up through the spine. What once was a subconscious automatic process is no longer in our repertoire. We can teach ourselves, though, how to transmute this energy, and therefore, over time, this process can become second nature. When men can achieve orgasm without ejaculating, then these energies are consolidated and recirculated throughout the body without the harmful short circuit. In a minute, I'll share some tips how to recirculate this sexual energy for men and women. Most of us masturbate to pornography. Most pornography is viewed on a laptop or phone. Scrying is an act of divination that requires a mirror, oftentimes a black mirror, to discover hidden knowledge, receive guidance, or contact entities. Scrying is not inherently evil, but it has the ability to contact positive entities as well as negative entities, what some call demons. When we surf the internet on our laptops and phones, which are black mirrors, we are aligning with the vibrations of whatever content we're watching or reading. The internet is not simply a man-made technology. It's connected directly to the etheric plane, a non-physical subrealm which processes all thoughts and actions. It's been called the Akasha in Hindu thought, hence the name the Akashic Record. The astral light that shoots out of the center of our plane, coming from the black sun, is what this realm is powered by. The internet was initially released as the Ethernet, referring to the etheric plane. Pornography websites are filled with misuse of sexual energy and deviancy, and therefore negative entities can be transferred through way of our black mirrors. Why do you think porn is the most free and easily accessible form of media online? It's not by coincidence. Pornography typically promotes the human body as being purely an object of personal pleasure. Both men and especially women are degraded. The sexual union is rarely depicted as being sacred. Everything we do is a magical act, and watching most pornography is a black magic ritual because it's focusing energy on inverted sexuality, ignoring the sacred aspects of it. Our focus is a vehicle for creation, so if we are to step into a new paradigm where our sacred nature is rekindled, we must focus on creating that sacredness in the space of sexuality. While most women do not ejaculate, women should still preserve their precious vital force. The female sexual energy is still being released and remains dominant in the lower half of the body during sex. Masculine sexuality is penetrative by nature, with more energy release, but feminine sexuality is receptive, drawing in energy. It's crucial that women are aware of this sexual exchange because they're absorbing the vital fluid. When women become addicted to absorbing this release, we call them promiscuous. Sexually promiscuous women aren't simply after sex, but most are unknowingly addicted to this release and absorption. Instead of learning how to channel their own sexual energy and waiting to share it in the heart space of a loving partner, they absorb the energy of others with little or no true connection. This wave of energy is not consistent. It's a high that's experienced during and after sex. Afterwards, it dips, causing problems because the female did not take into account the energy of their partner. This applies to men too, but I'm simply emphasizing that the drawing in of energy is more pronounced in women. Men carelessly releasing their vital fluid is disastrous, the same way that women carelessly receiving vital fluid is disastrous. During sex, along with exchange of fluids, there's an aura exchange. Each time we have sex, we receive a part of our partner's energy into our aura and leave a part of ours into theirs. During sex, we create an energy cord with our partner. Their thoughts, feelings, and desires are left as impressions in our aura, which, unless cleansed, can stay with us. When a person has sex with a variety of people, they're absorbing and transferring a lot of energy and information between many people, and their own auras can get muddied by past traumas and even exchanged negative entities. Sexually transmitted entities are a much bigger and more widespread issue than sexually transmitted diseases. Many of us have heard the saying, "Never sleep with someone you wouldn't want to be." This is a good rule of thumb, but I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. Enjoy sex with whoever you want, but know it has effects on your energy body. Sex will never be insignificant, no matter what attitudes we choose to adopt. The basis of sexual transmutation is the retention and transformation of the sexual energy, and not just the physical matter. Therefore, this applies to women equally as men. There's many variations of transmutation. One way men and women can circulate sexual energy is with a Taoist practice known as the microcosmic orbit. The microcosmic orbit is a circuit of energy that runs around the body of a sexually balanced individual. It's completely natural but has been hidden from us. The microcosmic orbit is basically a loop that is made when you touch your tongue to the roof of your mouth. The energy runs up the front of your body, through the tongue and roof of the mouth, into the brain, then back down through the back of your body, where it finds its origin in your sexual energy center. Here's how to do it. Sit down comfortably with a straight back and touch the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Visualize an energy current running down from your head, through the tongue down through your chest, then abdomen, and finally into your groin, where the sexual energy resides. You can visualize the opposite as well. Do this while breathing in deep and slow, while holding a pelvic contraction, basically tightening up your lower butt muscles. So while breathing in, visualize energy running down from the roof of your mouth, while gently starting to tense the pelvic muscles. As the energy runs closer and closer to the floor, you tense harder and harder. When the energy hits the pelvic floor, you tense as hard as you can, and at this exact point you have finished your in-breath. If you did it correctly, it feels like you draw in energy straight to your Dantian, your Qi energy center. This should be a single fluid movement: the breath, the energy flow, and the pelvic contraction. As you begin to release the pelvic contraction, breathe out and visualize energy rushing up through the back of your body near the spine. Keep slowly releasing the pelvic muscles, and as your breath is finished, the energy will be back near the tongue, and your muscles completely unclenched. When practiced enough and done correctly, you will feel this become a loop throughout your body. Keep doing this motion over and over again until you feel your sexual energy has been transmuted. This is one of many methods, and one that we can learn very easily. By simply visualizing our energy moving up the spine and not conglomerating in the groin, we are already on our way to true sexual freedom. So do some of your own research and find a practice that works for you. During sex, you can create a similar loop with your partner. Set the intention before lovemaking. During sex, intend to focus on the area of your body in which you wish to redirect the energy built up during sex. The best is for both partners to intend to redirect this energy through the heart. Imagine the sexual energy circulating through the heart, connecting with the other, and then moving it back down to the genitals, creating a loop that's similar to the microcosmic orbit. This can take practice, but eventually you'll be able to bring the sexual energy into the heart space, truly connecting heart to heart with your partner. I recommend starting with slow, steady movements instead of harsh grinding. Exploring slower movements and first relaxing into lovemaking supports a blossoming into deeper and deeper levels of sensation. Preparing the space, lighting candles, burning incense, all of this can help with setting the atmosphere. Do what you feel comfortable with. There's no rules, just keep it sacred. The word Tantra in Sanskrit means a continuum or unbroken stream of energy. Tantric sex involves slow, gradual movements. I recommend those who are attracted to it to learn about tantric sexual practices, which, when done correctly and with a loving partner, illuminates the psychogenesis aspect of sex, representing the merging of the divine feminine and masculine energies, creating transcendent love that goes beyond the merging of bodies. Our sexual energy is our own fountain of youth. Learning to control this rejuvenating energy heals the body and illuminates the spirit. And most importantly, during sex, the more we open to love, the more we feel the energy run through our physical and subtle body. So, to sum up this video, we can intend to move forward in our sexuality by limiting pornography, clearing ourselves of toxic beliefs towards sexuality, learning transmutation, and connecting heart to heart with our partners. Some may choose a life of celibacy. Some may impose short or long periods of celibacy on themselves. Not having sex for certain periods of time can help one harness their own sexual energy before combining it with somebody else's. Honestly, you can do whatever you want. The great thing about life is our ability to cultivate it however we choose. Personally, I choose to cultivate sacred sexuality. Thank you for watching, everyone. Keep up the good fight. I love you all.